The defense gets a turnover and a goal line stop in the same half. Joe Burrow does not get sacked in 4 quarters of football. The Bengals score a pair of rushing touchdowns. There's issues to fix on this team, but a 2-score win on the road. A 2-score win on the road. It feels good to finally break through, does it not? And look, there's still the issues there, but right now the Bengals have time to lick those wounds a little bit and not let them kill their season. Feeling good on a Monday morning. A little bit late recording this, but there's a lot going on. I'm Matt Edwards. You are in the jungle. Thank you so much for joining me. In about 7 or 8 minutes, I've got the Bengals report card through a quarter of the season. Remember when you were in school, like every quarter of the school year, you would get a report card. For me, it sucked because I was going to get in trouble for the grades. How will the Bengals feel about it? We'll find out here soon. I've got those coming up. I've got a game ball to give out. But let's start with the big story. Who cares how it happened? The Bengals get in the win column. Who cares that it's against a team that's probably going to be picking top 5 in the draft come April? Who cares about any of that? Bengals are back on the board. Offense is humming. Defense, again, issues, sure, and we'll start with those in a second. But for now, just take a breath and realize the season, it's going to be okay. I really feel that way. Another tough one this week, but I really feel like this is a team that can rattle off some wins and keep themselves in postseason contention. I'm guessing you probably do too, right? We've seen what this offense can do. They can hang with anyone. And the defense, they mixed it up a little bit yesterday. It wasn't great, but they still found a way to get a win and got some plays in the process. We'll talk about how they need to do more of that. So let's start there. That's our big story. That's our big feast, is this defense of the Cincinnati Bengals. They're a roller coaster. Like I mentioned yesterday in that first half, first drive, the Panthers go all the way down. They've got first and goal from the 5, and the Bengals stop them on 4 consecutive plays. 4 consecutive plays to keep them out of the end zone. Just massive. That was kind of the spark that they needed. And by the way, on 4th down, it's the rookie second-round pick, Chris Jenkins, whose father played at Carolina forever, making the tackle. So you not only do you have a great stand there, but you get a play made by a young guy when you really, really need some young guys to make a play. And Jenkins got a good bit of playing time yesterday, of course, only his second NFL game, but you feel good about him. So last week I said I'm curious to see what Lou Anarumo would do, right? We know that they're not going to go out and make a big trade or get a big acquisition. We know that a lot of the issues that need fixing, they just don't have the guys right now between injuries and really kind of some very questionable at best draft picks. So what all can they do? Well, it's on Lou Anarumo, in my opinion, in his 6th season as defensive coordinator as the Bengals, as a veteran defensive coordinator. You don't see a lot of coordinators last for 6 years. Typically, they get head coaching jobs, which he's interviewed for, or they get canned. He's been really solid. He's earned those head coaching jobs. But right now, I think you look at him as a veteran who has the ability to be a head coach in the NFL, and you say, you got to figure this out. And I think he did yesterday. I think on Sunday in Carolina, Lou Anarumo mixed things up, was taking some swings, trying some things out, because what was happening was just not working. Yesterday, just watching the game, I saw Sam Hubbard move to the inside more. He's not looking as athletic as he once was, so put him there in the middle. Just say, hold your ground, man. Just hold your ground. Do not get pushed backwards. We don't need you to be the insane guy you were in the 2021 AFC Championship right now. Here's what we need you to do. Here's what we know you can do. Let's move you inside a little bit and make that work out. So we saw that. We saw Logan Wilson blitzing more often than we're used to seeing him. You got to make splash plays, right? Defensive line is not getting pressure in the backfield, is not putting pressure on the quarterback outside of Trey Hendrickson. We'll talk about him in a bit as well. So what do? You bring a blitz. Now, does that open some other things up? Sure, but we know in this league, getting pressure on the quarterback makes a lot of good things happen for you on defense. So we saw Logan Wilson blitz. I mentioned Chris Jenkins, the rookie out of Michigan, played 31% of the snaps. Joseph Osai played the majority of the snaps on defense yesterday, so getting some younger guys in there, and it kind of seemed to work out. Osai was all over the place. What they had going on wasn't working. So there's a lot of issues where it's like, let's just try something different. Let's give these guys a shot, and we saw that yesterday. And again, not the greatest day on defense, but good enough to win a football game, and that's what the Bengals need right now. So Lou Anarumo, I got to, as I mentioned last week, you got to try something different, and he knows that. That wasn't earth-shattering. That was not an earth-shattering idea. It's just what was going on was not getting the job done, so he does something different, and it works out. So that was good to see. The Bengals evolving there. Yeah, the guys up front, they did play better, and what I just mentioned was part of that. The guys in the back did not play better. We are just at a point right now with Cam Taylor-Britt where, like, if you listen to the preseason episodes, I really thought he was going to be a breakout, like, top-level corner by the end of the season. Someone that people said, you're going to have to pay this guy big money. What happened? I mean, just getting the first few games, it's like, okay, you got beat on a couple long balls. You're one-on-one with the other team's best receiver. That's going to happen from time to time. He got picked on Sunday by Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was going at him like he was a 6th-round rookie who had to come in to sub for someone injured. Just what happened? We all know how good he's been the last few years. Just getting picked on. Is he, Moose Johnson on the broadcast said, I wonder if he's hurt a little bit. I kind of hope so. Otherwise, there's no excuse for the cliff he has just suddenly fallen off of. What is going on with Cam Taylor-Britt? I don't know, but they got to figure something out there, and they did. They ended up pulling him out of the game. DJ Turner gets into the game. DJ Turner ends up playing more on Sunday than Cam Taylor-Britt and looked significantly better. So maybe we'll get some answers. Dax Hill ends up taking, could you imagine telling someone last year, hey, game 4 next year, Dax Hill is going to be taking the majority of snaps at cornerback. DJ Hill, a guy, again, I mentioned last week, solid 2nd-round pick. You got to see what he's got. You know he's got skill. I hope you know he's got skill. Otherwise, why'd you take him in the 2nd round 18 months ago? But he played well. He had a nice pass breakup. They got to get other guys in there right now, and they did that. DJ Turner, I mentioned him early on in the year saying, if he can come and be a breakout player, that's what the Bengals kind of needed. Because I thought, in my mind, Cam Taylor-Britt was not penciled in. It was in ink that he was a lockdown top cornerback. And I hope Moose Johnson on the broadcast was right. I hope that he's a little dinged up and maybe he can get right within the next couple weeks. But hey, they got to figure something out because that secondary has been just not good. We'll talk about them more when I give out my grades here shortly. So that's what they have to work with. Again, Lou Anarumo, make those splash plays. You want to blitz, and again, that opens some other parts of the field up, but guess what? You're getting burnt in the secondary half the time anyways, so at least try to get some pressure on the quarterback, make an errant throw, and see if Cam Taylor-Britt can come up with another incredible interception. He had one called back on Sunday. That's kind of what would be saving him right now, right? Like he had the amazing one of the best ones you'll ever see against Patrick Mahomes. And then yesterday does similar, not quite as sharp. He needed both hands on the ball this time, but it gets called back. So yeah, keep running those blitzes, Lou. Keep running, and you're not going to be able to, are you going to get burnt sometimes? Of course. But right now you're getting burnt with a rushing 4 anyways, so what's it matter? Make some splash plays. I think this Bengals defense this year is going to have to kind of do a live by the sword, die by the sword thing where they're willing to take some risks knowing that the reward is going to be high. Because you can be sloppy and miss tackles on defense, but if you can get 2 turnovers a game, that makes a big difference. I think that's what the Bengals are going to need to be right now. I think their best shot on defense to turn this thing around is say, hey, we're going to cut it loose, and you know what? We're going to get burnt for a deep ball every week. Been doing it the last couple years anyways. But we're also going to force some turnovers. We're going to get some strip sacks. We're going to get in the quarterback's head. We're going to make him release it a little quicker than he wants to sometimes and see if some of our guys can jump those routes. I think that's what the Bengals have to be right now. I think they have to be a team that says, hey, let's take a shot here. Let's bring 6-7 guys and hope that their quarterback makes a mistake or we get to him. Let's hope that our guys, because they say what you want at cornerback, they have a lot of speed. They haven't been great all the time, and I know that kind of sounds contradictory, seeing how Cam Taylor-Britt's been burnt a number of times already just a month into the season, but they've got guys who can run. So pin your ears back, get after the quarterback, and try to force him into mistakes, because just lining up and hoping that you're going to out-talent teams is not working to this point in the season. So great to see Lou Anarumo kind of mix it up on Sunday, try some new things. Take a gamble, right? Take a gamble. See if you can force the quarterback into something they don't want to do. I think that's how the Bengals are going to have to play on defense this year. Offensive side of the ball, outstanding. They put up 33 points last week. They put up 33 last week against, I'm going to get this right, 34 points against Washington on Monday night, 33 on Sunday in Carolina. Got a little too fired up talking about the defense and couldn't get my numbers out. So, I mentioned the game ball at the top of the show, offensive line. Joe Burrow did not get sacked on Sunday. How often have we been able to say that? Joe Burrow did not get sacked on Sunday. Now, coming into this, the Panthers, they are terrible at rushing the passer. I think they only had 3 sacks coming into this week, but whatever. Given what we've seen throughout Joe Burrow's career, I don't care if you put a peewee team out there. If the other team is not getting to him, excellent things will happen, and we saw that on Sunday. And not only that, but the Bengals ran the ball very well, 4.5 yards per carry. They back-to-back week now, 120 yards or more rushing. First time they've done that since December of 2022 when they were on that wild streak that they rode all the way to the AFC Championship for the second year in a row. So the offensive line gets the game ball. They were awesome. They give Joe time. They let the running backs run free, get to the second level. Great things will happen on this offense. We all know that. That's the entire NFL. You can have an okay quarterback, and if you can make that happen, things will go well. So when you have Joe Burrow with the weapons he has, this offense can be absolutely lethal, and they are going to have to be at times, as we just discussed on defense. They're going to have to win some shootouts this year. And when you have an offensive line, I don't know, my dad texted me yesterday, he said, I don't think I can remember ever seeing Joe have this much time to sit back there in the pocket. It was actually it was like an optical illusion. It's like, I don't think I've ever seen this before. Joe Burrow is just standing there looking at his second and third reads and not running for his life. It was amazing to see. So the game ball goes to the offensive line. Just outstanding. Amarius Mims, a rookie right tackle. Boy, the Bengals have had some big misses on offensive line in the draft. It's a small sample size, right? Just a few games, but he looks awesome so far. Held his own against Jadeveon Clowney yesterday, who you might not even know played for the Panthers, despite the fact that they played them yesterday. I don't think we heard his name called yesterday. That's how good the Bengals offensive line was. So, hey man, if they can stay intact, keep it going, as Michael Jordan would say, the roof is the ceiling, right? The roof is the ceiling for this offense. The sky is the limit. So Joe tosses to Jamar and T. They both had 60-plus yards receiving. Get that balance there. And then speaking of balance, I mean, the running backs, Chase Brown scores twice. Good for him. He is like a rocket once he hits that second level. Really, once he hits the first level. I shouldn't say I can't. I'm sure there have been guys. But it's like some guys kind of take a minute to get up to speed. It's like as soon as he decides, it's like he has a turbo button. As soon as he decides, hey, I want to go top speed, he does it in a step, maybe 2. Most guys need 7, 8 steps to get to that point. It's like he literally presses a button and he's got rocket fuel coming out of his butt. It's insane. Love to see that. Love to see him getting more touches, scored twice. He has been awesome. This running back duo, I mean, Zach Moss with that little catch in the flat at the end of the first half. Think about this. Think about the effort he gives there that gets him into the end zone. He was almost down at like the 3-yard line. Gives a hell of an effort. The clock runs out if he does not score there. On the other end of that, the Bengals on that goal line stand to start the game stopped Chuba Hubbard. So the defensive effort on the first drive of the game and the offensive effort on the last drive of the game is literally the difference. That's a 14-point swing in 2 plays. 2 plays of incredible effort. That's a 14-point swing. The Bengals with a 21-14 lead at the half instead of being down 21-14, all because of 2 effort plays. Wonderful to see. Zach Moss, I'm a bigger fan every week. This running back duo is exactly what you want. It's just been awesome. All right, I said I'll give out the report card at the 7 or 8 minute mark. We're now at 14 minutes. So if you're here for that, I apologize. But I got a little carried away. Okay, let's start with the bad. It is time for your quarterly Cincinnati Bengals 2024 report card, and let's get into it. Who's getting grounded this week? Who's not allowed to go over to Timmy's house and play Nintendo because they didn't get their grades up? Well, let's start on defense. Drop my marker. Great. Just what a teacher needs. On defense, the linebackers get a B. I've seen a little bit of people unhappy with Jermaine Pratt. Well, when guys are running through your defensive line the way they are, you're not going to be great the entire time. Like Pratt and Wilson are kind of built. They're not your typical bruiser linebackers of Bengals past because they need guys who can run with Lamar. They need guys who can run with Mahomes. That's what this defense has been built for, right? So yeah, has Jermaine Pratt had some rough-looking moments? Sure. But I think a lot of that is because he's cleaning up messes he didn't make to begin with. Logan Wilson, awesome. Arguably the most dependable player on this team. Like at any position. At any position, I think you could argue. I'm trying to think, like, is there anyone more dependable week in, week out, year in, year out right now than Logan Wilson? And what I mean by that is when he shows up on Sundays, you know what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get. He is going to be an excellent linebacker. Now, he's not going to be Ray Lewis, hopefully. He's never going to be the superstar that Micah Parsons is. But he is solid week in and week out. He rarely makes mistakes. If there's an opportunity to take advantage of, he takes advantage of it. He's been awesome. Akeem Davis-Gaither is probably about as good of a player coming off the bench on defense in the NFL you can hope for in 2024. He's been great. Bengals linebackers, they get a B. No one on this defense gets A's, obviously. Linebackers get a B. They've been really solid. Love what we've seen out of them. Defensive line. Look, they are hurt. Like I've said, 2 of their best 3 defensive linemen have now missed 2 consecutive weeks. B.J. Hill may be back this weekend. Sheldon Rankins, it doesn't look like, so hopefully he's coming back the following week against the Giants. Otherwise, I don't know why he wouldn't have been on IR. But there is a little asterisk here. The defensive line's been beat up. They're getting older. I said that before the season. Like, all of these guys are going to be 30 next year. This is kind of that over the hill in the NFL age. So the saving grace here is that Trey Hendrickson has probably been the Bengals' best player through 4 games. He gets dinged up yesterday, comes out of the game with a neck injury. We'll keep an eye on that. They've given up the 8th most rushing yards. A lot of that has to do with Ramondre Stevenson in week 1. And then, Jaden Daniels and the Commanders doing whatever they wanted to. But the big issue right here, just 5 sacks on the year. That's the 2nd lowest total in the league. And only 4 of them are from the defensive line, and 3 of them are from Trey Hendrickson. There's got to be some other guys creating pressure. And right now, like I mentioned earlier, Lou Anarumo is doing what he can to get other guys back there because the defensive line just not getting it done. The defensive line gets a C-. Could have been lower, but I'm going to give them that asterisk, that cushion, given that they're beat up. I mean, again, your 2 interior defensive linemen, both really good players, are not playing right now. 2 weeks in a row out with those hamstring injuries. So the defensive line gets a C for that first quarter report card. Secondary. This is a confusing one because they are healthy. These are the guys the Bengals wanted to come into the season with. They went out and signed 2 of these guys, in Geno Stone and Von Bell. Geno Stone just kind of looking slow yesterday. We saw what Cam Taylor-Britt, we don't know what's going on with him. I say it hurts because they're healthy. Maybe they're not. They played well against Mahomes. It's confusing. Lou Anarumo has like this hex on the Chiefs. I don't get it. But the secondary's just got to be better. Too many big plays. Again, too many big plays. And some of that has to do with the quarterback of the opposing team getting a lot of time to sit back there and do what they want because the Bengals can't generate a pass rush. These things are all connected. I'm grading by position group, but they are all connected. I give them a D+ in the secondary. It's just, it's not awful, but at the same time, you feel like it should be really good. On paper, I felt really good about this group coming into the year. Good news is, not a whole lot of places to go but up. Bad news is, what the hell happened to Cam Taylor-Britt? My guy, who I thought would break in to that elite tier of cornerbacks this year. You can almost count on him this year to get burnt for a deep ball every week. And again, he's playing the number 1 wide receiver. But they just have to be better in the secondary. I don't get it. I do not get it. DJ Turner played well yesterday. Maybe we'll see more snaps out of him. Jordan Battle, I don't know what you did, dude. I don't know what you did that you were really good last year as a rookie and you can't get on the field this year. He's got to be in the doghouse. I can't think of any other explanation at this point. So we'll see there. But yeah, the secondary is just, we're going with a D+ there. So the defense overall, what do we have here? I gave them a C-. And I think that's being generous. I think that's me saying, hey, you got some guys hurt and you've had to play some new guys, and I really want you to be good, but you're certainly less than average at this point. So we'll go the C-. You got to tackle. Tackling has been an issue. I don't know. There's no There's no big analytical numbers or scientific breakdowns there. You put your arms around the guy, you bring him to the ground. I'm not saying it's easy, but you're in the NFL. You have to do it. So the defense gets a C-. To recap that one, linebackers get a B, defensive line C-, secondary D+. So a generous, in my opinion, C- for the Cincinnati Bengals defense through a quarter in 2024. They can make it up here. They can be better. Well, look back. When you got your report card, you could see your grades. You should suck early on in the year and then get better as you go so you can tell your parents that you're really trying. Maybe that's what they're doing here. We'll find out. Let's go over to offense, which is obviously a lot better. Quarterback, Joe Burrow. Very good quarterback. He gets a B+. The only reason he doesn't get an A is that first game against the Patriots, he came out way too mechanical. And I think a lot of quarterbacks do this early on. They get so into the, what do I need to be better at in the offseason, that they kind of forget to play with those instincts. And we saw some excellent plays from backyard Burrow on Sunday. And once again, we see how excellent and amazing he is when he's playing with his instincts, when he's letting it rip. He had the interception, his first one of the season, on a miscommunication between himself and Jamar. That one hurt, especially because it was in the red zone, and he was mad. I don't know that I've ever seen him that mad on the sideline. He took the little tablet and was shaking it. But Joe Burrow gets a B+ through the first quarter of the season. Been great through the last 3 games. With that first game, he just seemed like he was a little stiff. He was trying to play more with his, I don't know if saying he was playing more with his mind, but he was probably thinking too much. He's got such a great feel for the game. He was probably thinking about it too much, and you could kind of see that if you go back and look at that game. He just seemed like he was a little too mechanical. He is at his best when he is letting it rip, when he's, almost unconscious, just letting the football god within him take over. The running backs, if you've been listening, they get an A. I'm giving them an A. I've been so impressed with this duo. This is kind of exactly what you want out of a running back duo. Both guys kind of, Zach Moss has definitely gotten more carries through the first quarter. It was a little more split yesterday. Chase Brown gets 2 touchdowns. Zach Moss runs in for a touchdown. This has been just an awesome position group so far in 2024. Very impressed with them. Shout out to the Bengals, who not everyone loved them letting Joe Mixon walk. My issue with Joe Mixon the last few years was you just never knew what you were going to get out of him. Some Sundays he was excellent. Others, he didn't necessarily seem like he cared what happened out there. And that was frustrating to see. He was a great Bengal. Appreciate all he did. Excellent draft choice, and there were a lot of questions coming out about him. But this kind of duo, I think, fits this offense so much better. Between the two of them, there's just so much more that they can do than one running back, really any one running back outside of maybe Christian McCaffrey could. And there's less tread on the tires at the end of the year because you're working with 2 instead of 1. So we saw a little bit of this with Mixon and Pirine a few years ago, but I think even then, you're counting on Mixon to carry the bulk of the load. And that's not the case anymore. Neither of these guys are really getting the money or kind of have the, I don't want to say reputation, but maybe that's it. Neither of them can demand to get 20, 25 carries a game. So it's working out great. So kudos to the front office for putting these two back there to start the season because it's working out really well. Wide receivers, we'll get onto them. Now, the grade I'm going to give here does have in part to do with the expectations of this group. Obviously, T misses a couple games with a hamstring. Jamar seems to be cooking all of a sudden, has another big game yesterday. Just turns on the Jets. I don't know that he gets the respect around the league he should as far as how good he is once the ball's in his hands. When he needs to, it's like he turns into Rudy Johnson, just bullying people over, and then turns it on as he can. There is nothing he cannot do. There is nothing. Jamar Chase. In baseball, they talk about 5-tool players. I don't know what the analogy is for football, but Jamar is that. There's nothing he can't do. T. Higgins is back. 10 targets yesterday, led the Bengals. Looks awesome. And then Yoshi looks like the guy, Andre Ishivas. I never say it right on the podcast. I promise I can say it. Yossi Voss. It's in his freaking Twitter profile. Andre Yossi Voss. I'm trying to say it too fast. He's been what the Bengals expected him to be. 3 touchdowns on the year already. Only 1 catch on Sunday, but a big one that went for 29 in a crucial spot down the stretch. And they look really strong. Really, really strong. You got to like what you see out of them. And hey, that's with Jermaine Burton hanging back on the bench. And he looks like once he gets going, he can contribute as well. So the wide receivers get a B on their first quarter report card. The tight ends. This is probably the best group they've had in a while, right? Probably since, well, I guess when you had, no, I think this is the best group they've had in a while. Yeah. Gesicki and Eric All, I mean, the rookie fourth rounder and the free agent who came in from New England, Mike Gesicki, I don't think that they've had a duo this good, at least the way it's trending. Like right now, of course, they've had better duos, but like the way they're trending, Eric All, you can tell Joe Burrow absolutely trusts him. You already knew he felt that way about Gesicki. This group has been solid, and Drew Sample's still that number 3 guy, very valuable because of how well he blocks. And we've seen him, every few weeks, he'll take a screen on 3rd and 9 and turn it into 14 yards. So tight ends have been awesome. They get a B. The only reason they don't get an A is because that Tanner Hudson fumble in week 1 quite possibly was the difference in the game. And for that reason, they get a B. So tight ends get a B in week 1. Offensive line. This one has something to do with expectations as well. The run game has been awesome. I just mentioned 120 yards plus in back-to-back weeks. That includes the week against Washington where they're playing from behind the whole time. Don't really have time to run the ball, but still average 6.5 yards per carry. So Joe Burrow's been sacked 8 times in 4 games. Not great, but considering what we've seen from this team over the years, not awful either. So, they're one of the better offensive lines in the league right now. If you look, and I'm not going to come on a podcast and talk numbers and metrics. I don't find that to be entertaining. I read into it. I think it's fun, but, scientists are not hosting podcasts for a reason. And if they are, they're probably quacks. But anyways, enough about that. But by all those metrics out there, the Bengals are in the top half of the league. And all the offensive line metrics, they've been really solid. So I give them a B+. Not quite an A. You still have some things that, we still see some, again, they played the Panthers yesterday and looked really solid, but there's still some things that could be better. You just see some, that's what they are. They're a B+ offensive line. I think that's like their ceiling. I don't know if there's really any great offensive lines left in the league anymore. Maybe a couple, but they're a B+ offensive line. And if they can be a C+ offensive line, this offense will be fine. But when you're a B+ offensive line with these weapons, you're going to be absolutely awesome. Just give Joe Burrow a little bit of a running game. Give him a little bit of time, really, hopefully a lot of the time and a lot of a running game. But we've seen in the past how great this offense with these weapons can be, just being a less than average offensive line. So if they can be better than average, and they've been that and then some in 2024, sky is the limit, baby. Sky is the absolute limit. So the offense overall gets a B+. They are 8th in points scored. Only the Bills and Ravens are averaging more points per game in the AFC. So they've been really solid. B+. Again, that kind of has to do with expectations too. I think we'll see them get better as the season goes on. They're being smart. They're going to get that A in quarter 2 and say, look, Ma, I'm trying hard here. So you take away week 1, that dud against New England, which again, they were stiff and they've been excellent. So B+ for the offensive line. So to go over it one more time, the quarterback room, which is really just Joe Burrow, gets a B+. The running backs get an A. I think they've been awesome. If you've been listening, you know I've loved what I've seen out of them. Wide receivers and tight ends both get a B, and the offensive line gets a B+. The offense overall gets a B+. Need that defense to step up a little bit, man. I mean, this is, again, doesn't this feel like the team should be better than 1-3? And I get, Washington's just on such an unbelievable heater right now. The Patriots one is really the only one I'm terribly irritated with still. All 3 of them you want better. I guess when I really think about it, all 3 losses I'm irritated with. But the Bengals are back where they need to be. Again, I know it's the Panthers. I know they're not good, but you get a 10-point win on the road. You'll take it. You got the Ravens coming to town this weekend. Chance to really, really turn this season around, and also a chance to really kind of get back and have to fight from your knees again. So we'll talk about that more on the podcast this coming week. That'll be out Friday. Special teams, forgot to grade them. They get a B. Punt returning, and the rare times we've seen it, needs to be better. Evan McPherson's been solid. But, he's missed an extra point in the field goal. You expect perfection out of him, especially like inside of 55 yards at this point. But he's been awesome. They get a B. And then Ryan Rico, the punter, I mean, holy smokes. Holy smokes. He's the best punter in the NFL right now. Best net average, and it's by like 5 yards. He's been outstanding. So the special teams gets a B. Hopefully we see more punt returns. Maybe Charlie Jones just needs some more practice. But you kind of, again, the expectations for him after last year were high, but we just haven't seen him much. And that fumble early on. So that's a place they can get better. I'm probably being a little generous with a B there, but there's so many facets to that, and the punting's got to be a huge one. They can flip the field now with Ryan Rico and the Storm and Mormon. I got to come up with a good nickname for him. Rico, let's see, Ramin Rico, I don't know. Ryan rhymes with a lot of things, but anything good? Crying, flying. He doesn't cry or fly. Flying Ryan, crying Ryan. I guess maybe there's not that many rhymes for Ryan. Lying Ryan, he doesn't lie. We'll work on that. We'll get there. But he's been awesome. Special teams gets a B. So that's where we're at. I probably gave out B plus B and a C minus. Is that right? Yeah, that's a 1-3 team. That's a 1-3 team right there. All right, let's go out of the jungle. In the AFC, some big injuries this weekend. So the Chiefs lose Rashee Rice, one of the guys who burnt Cam Taylor-Britt a couple weeks ago, and he looks like an ACL. He's done for the year. So the Chiefs now have already lost their two top receivers in Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice. So not good. Obviously, I usually talk about the AFC North on here, but the Chiefs quite clearly been the Bengals' biggest rival. So they, that's rough for them. And then the Steelers lose Mason Daniels, one of their starters at guard. Their offensive line is dinged up. They lose to Indianapolis on Sunday, and they're at 3-1 now. So things kind of trending down in Pittsburgh. I mean, their offensive line is just, I think that's their third offensive lineman they've lost for the year already. And yeah, not ideal for what they need to do on offense, but everyone has injuries. Just, I want the Steelers to be bad, but that's not how I want them to be bad. I want them to be bad because they give up long touchdowns and throw interceptions. So rough times for them right now. They're 1-3. They play Dallas on Sunday night. I believe that game is in Pittsburgh. Let's check here. Yeah, I think I said on the podcast last week, Pittsburgh gets like 3 out of 4 home primetime games, which is absurd. But Dallas goes to Pittsburgh on Sunday night, so that'll be nice to watch one and be able to root against them, which we probably all tried to do with Baltimore last night, and we saw how that went. Ravens absolutely roll the Bills. They are hot. They come to Cincinnati this weekend. Browns fall to 1-3. They suck, huh? They get Washington next week, so they now get a front row seat for the Jaden Daniels show. Where is that game at? That one's in Washington. Also a 1 o'clock game. That one's on Fox. Bengals are on CBS against the Ravens at 1 p.m. So, yeah, just kind of, Browns could fall to 1-4, and then Ravens now at 2-2. So it's early, but things kind of starting to take shape here. The Browns just look rough. Rough. They were at 4 yesterday, so I got to see a lot of that game. They needed a defensive touchdown to even hang with the Raiders and still lost. So that's that. That's out of the jungle. People are getting beat up. Everyone's getting beat up already. Not ideal, but part of it, I suppose. Our one for the road today. Check this out. Points per game in the AFC North. So if you're looking at points leaders through week 4, 9 of the top 12 right now are in the NFC. Now in the AFC, and I kind of only want to do AFC because the 2 AFC teams playing tonight on Monday Night Football, they're bad. They're not going to get into this conversation regardless of what happens tonight. But through 4 weeks in the AFC, your point leaders, who's scoring the most? Bills, Ravens, Bengals, Chiefs, in that order. Bills at 30.5 points a game. Ravens 26.5 points per game. Cincinnati Bengals 25.5 points per game. And the Chiefs at 23 a game. So your usual suspects, right? These things all balance out. Let's hope more of it balances out as we go and the Bengals continue to climb that ladder, because we all know they're as good as anyone, right? Like, just got to put it together. Am I being too optimistic? I don't know. All right, that's all I got for you. I hope you enjoyed the report card stuff. If you have any Ryan Rico nickname suggestions, you can email me, you can comment on YouTube, you can tweet me at Matt Edwards on the website formerly known as Twitter. If you like this podcast, please tell a friend about it. Give it a 5-star rating wherever you're listening. Subscribe on YouTube, or just ignore me and keep listening to it at your leisure. That's fine too. My name is Matt Edwards. Hope you enjoyed the show. You've been listening to In the Jungle. We will see you again this Friday as we get ready for Bengals Ravens at Paycor Stadium.